All right, Legion.
Yes.
Legion. So just to clarify, your name used to be?
My name used to be Tiamat Medusa, the Dragon Lady. That's what I used to go by for so many years. But recently, I have gone through another stage of my transformation, of my metamorphosis, and that is to become the final product, the dragon that I'm aiming to be. So it requires me to shed certain different things in my life along the way. Like I had mentioned before, there are certain things that I don't eat anymore. My hearing's changed because of my mods.
Because you cut off your ears?
Yeah. Huh? Can you repeat that, please? But the name Legion basically is a way for me to simplify with my friends and my family what my name is, because everybody was like, "You got all these names, we know," and I'm like, "Yes, I know."
What was your name? What was your given name when you were born?
My birth name was Richard Hernandez, and just 2 days ago, I went to the DMV here in Los Angeles, and I got my name changed because the court had already approved it for me when I applied for petitions for my name change.
So what does your driver's license say?
Tiamat Legion Medusa.
Wow.
That is my final name. But I'm only going by the name Legion because for some reason the name Legion is easy for everybody to pronounce. Plus everybody knows about Legion. Some people get scared, like, "Oh my God, why did you pick that name? That's a scary name. That's a bad name. That's a bad name. Oh, you're Legion from the Bible." I'm like, "Yes, I am."
So you've had so much body modification. Let's give me a little list of what you've done. You have the whites of your eyes are green, bright green.
I've had my eyes tattooed green, the green eyes of Medusa or the dragon. I have had both my ears removed because serpents don't have ears, and I'm a serpent dragon.
You also had your nose flattened, is that right?
I had my nose, yes, modified. Basically, when I first saw Harry Potter and I saw Lord Voldemort as one of the characters in that show, I immediately became in love. I love Lord Voldemort. I want to marry Lord Voldemort. We would make such a great couple. But and this is in honor of Lord Voldemort, I got my nose modified to look like his.
And also to be like a reptile.
Yes. It served two purposes. It was part of my reptilian metamorphosis. Becoming a reptile, I had to get rid of my human nose because reptiles have a flat nose. Don't have a nose. They just kind of two little holes. That's what I have, two little holes on each side of my whatever's left of whatever nose there. Those two little holes are where I breathe, and I can no longer scratch my nose like people. You put your finger and scratch your nose, and there's certain things I can't do anymore, but it's okay. I like learning to live anew.
Your goal is to become you said last time, a genderless
dragon. That is my goal. That is my ultimate goal. Yes, I have had my tongue split.
You sure have.
I've had most of my teeth removed. I am going to be continuing that process until all of my teeth are out of my mouth. And that's a new development in my metamorphosis. I was initially evolving or transforming myself to become the image of a rattlesnake.
But
because
rattlesnakes have teeth?
Rattlesnakes are near and dear to my heart simply because when I was abandoned by my mother and my stepdad at the age of 4, left out in the middle of the woods, they left us there in the middle of rattlesnake country. And so I adopted the rattlesnake as my parent. When my parents tossed me out of the car and didn't want me.
Your parents abandoned you for what reason?
It was basically the reason my parents abandoned me has everything to do with my stepfather, the man that my mother chose to hook up with after she left my father, and brought. She had 4 kids. She was like 21 years old, and she had 4 kids. So it was rough for her. Things were rough for her, and I realized that. And the fact that I was abandoned, I don't really hate my mother. I don't harbor any ill will or resentment against her. I love my mother, regardless of everything that has happened, regardless of her decision to push me out of the car and say, y'all need to stay there, while she was crying and through tears. I can still see her tears and her crying, because she was doing something that was very hard for her to do. I always felt sorry for my mother, because I always took into consideration not only the time. This was back in the 1960s, when things were like really, really bad in the world. It was very taboo to be gay. I mean, just being gay could get you killed back in the 60s and the 70s as well.
Especially in Texas, where you grew up?
Oh, my God, yeah. Texas, where I grew up, and then I grew up in South Texas, where it's the spirit of male machismo is alive and well. And that's always bothered me, this male machismo attitude that pervaded the entire area where I grew up. So I grew up around that, and it was.
You grew up in a very small town, right?
I grew up in a really small town. The town that I grew up in had only like 350 people total population. And it's basically pretty much stayed that way over the last 50 years since I've been gone.
So back to your modifications, I guess we got off track there. You also have horns?
Yeah, I have horns on my head. I have 18 horns on my head. I have more horns on my head than anyone else in the world. And I'm going for my first official world record with Guinness for the person with the most horns. So that's something that I'm working on right now, and it's coming around the bend.
And plenty of tattoos.
Yeah, my tattoo is also one of my modifications. I'm working on a full body dragon tattoo, serpent dragon tattoo. So I've got serpent scales tattooed throughout most of my body, which is pretty much mostly outlined. I do have some of the work complete, like this sleeve. The right sleeve is finished. No, not finished. The left sleeve is finished, but it's going to be redone, and so is the right one. And we're talking about the Dragon Legion and the name Legion. I think this is very important for me to make sure and to clarify that is my name, first of all. It's my legal name. It's my legal middle name. So, yeah, I love that name. I'm proud of it. I love the name Legion. I've always loved it ever since the first time I heard of Legion in the Bible. So the fact that that some people say, well, why did you choose that name? It's scary.
But what is the origin of Legion?
Well, the way my story relates to the story of Legion is basically when Legion says, "My name is Legion, for we are many." Well, if you look back at my transformation, back to where I was before I even started, I am known by different names by different people who have followed my transformation, and so they're aware that I used to be Richard, and then I used to be Nomad, I used to be Pan, I used to be Eva. All these names are, in a way, personas of me. And I've heard people say she has a multiple personality disorder, and I'm thinking, no, I have all my personalities in order, and they're quite well, and I love them all. I don't deny any of them. I am all the people that people have known me by. So I chose the name Legion to make it easy for people, just as a way for me to say, since people, different people know me as different names, I'm going to make it easy for everybody and just call me Legion, because that is all of my names, including Tiamat, including Medusa. Those are all combined into my middle name, which is Legion. So Legion is, even though it's a middle name, to me it's probably more important than the name Tiamat and the name Medusa. So that's just a little explanation of the name Legion. And also, because people have gotten used to seeing me the way I look, I have a certain look, that's my look. It was the Dragon Lady's look, but the Dragon Lady is no longer. I'm doing away with gender.
So your goal is not to be a female, or not to be, this isn't a sexual thing at all.
Right. It's not a sexual thing at all. I don't want to be referred to as anything having to do with gender, because I reject both genders. I'm not, I don't claim to be a man or a woman. I defy both.
You still have your male genitalia?
I have my penis. One of the body modifications that I did get was to have an orchiectomy, which is a castration procedure. I got that done in 2018. So all that's left is Mr. Bojangles. Mr. Bojangles won't go away. He keeps hanging in there. It's time for him to go chop. Be gone. Bye-bye, Mr. Bojangles. Mr. Bojangles is my penis. That's his name.
And that's coming off one day? Wow. So tell me, like, something happened to you as a young man that maybe steered the direction of your life? I remember you told me about this in the last interview, which was a shorter one.
Well, my life has been riddled ever since I was a kid with hardships and a lot of trials and tribulations. Some good times. I do have some fun memories of my childhood, but they're few and far between, honestly. And I spent the entire time that I was either like in grade school and all the way through high school, all that period, all those years of my life, I just wanted to die. I hated my life. I hated my grandfather, who had raised me as his own and adopted me, my mother's father. So my maternal grandparents took me in to raise as their own, but my troubles didn't end there. They continued, because I was a spitting image of my father, of Richard Hernandez Sr. I was a junior. And that was like taboo, to even speak his name under the roof of the house where I lived. So I suffered a lot of ridicule, a lot of scorn, a lot of criticism, because I was named after my father, and I was basically a spitting image of him. I looked like his twin. So I was definitely a Richard Hernandez Jr. But, I tell people, being named after somebody should be something very special. And it should have been an honor and a privilege for me to have been named after my father. And it wasn't. To me, it was a curse, because I heard things like, you're never going to amount to anything. You're going to be just like your father, worthless. Nobody's going to want you. You're good for nothing. Look at you. You're just like your father. I heard those words repeatedly over so many years, during the time when I needed to hear words of inspiration, words of support, show of support and love from those people that should have loved me, which were my grandparents. And my grandmother did love me, but my grandfather was a totally different beast. He was very homophobic, and for one, was never in the closet. I came out very early in my lifetime, and I told everybody in school and anyone that I would meet in the town, I would let everybody know, hey, I am gay. Yoo-hoo! Does it surprise anyone? No, because you are already calling me joto and queer and maricon and all these names and grabbing my ass. I went through a lot of that in school. I had guys would grab my ass just because it was their way of, and I guess, expressing or showing power over me, because they were the male machismo type, yet I was gay, and they would beat up on me. They would pick on me and bully me. And I, for one, never backed down. I didn't care how big a bully was. To me, I saw a bully as a bully. A bully is a bully is a bully, no matter how big they are, how small they are, what nationality they are, what story they have. A bully is a bully, and they're going to do what bullies do. So what I did is I stood up to those bullies. I sure did. I got into a couple of fist fights, and guess what? I didn't lose any of them, because I'm not scared to get right down. Yeah, I hang from hooks. I do hook suspensions where I hang from hooks in my body. And the most hooks I've had in my body at one time when I did a suspension was 50 hooks. I was suspended up in the air through 50 hooks in my, going through my flesh. So getting into a fist fight with someone, for me, like, oh, you bring it. That's like, showdown. Let's go see. Let's see what you got, because I know what I got, and I ain't scared of you, bully. I'm not scared of you. You can call me names. You can throw things at me. You can chase me down the street. Just don't touch me or get near enough to me where I can touch you, because you ain't gonna like what's gonna happen. I will defend myself against a bully. I will fight someone if I have to. But if I can walk away from a fight, I always choose to do that first. But when, there are some people who, they're just plain mean and ugly and nasty. I've had a lot of those kind of people approach me here in Skid Row. It hasn't been easy, just a joyride in the park for me to live in Skid Row. This is the second time that I've been here, and the first time was absolutely scary. I did not realize Skid Row existed. I didn't know what it was about. All I know is that I was tossed into Skid Row and said, there you go. Fend for yourself.
Why do you choose to live in Skid Row?
The reason I chose Skid Row is because when I came to California...
Because drugs are not your thing?
No, I don't do drugs. I don't do drugs. A lot of people automatically assume incorrectly that I do drugs. I've had so many people ask me, hey, are you looking for crystal? Are you looking for Molly? Are you looking for, like, no, I ain't looking for nothing. I ain't looking for no one. I got my weed here in my hand, puff.
So why do you choose to live on Skid Row?
Well, the reason I live in Skid Row is because when I came to California, I didn't realize I was going to end up homeless on the street. And that's what happened. I ended up homeless on the street. And being that I was a transgender person, and being extremely modified, I'm like an easy target for people. So it was important to get me off the street and into a shelter as quickly as possible. So that's how I ended up being in Skid Row. I needed a place to live. and the shelter was the shelter that I went to accepted me, and then they placed me into an apartment. So I'm basically going through that same process again today, where I'm looking at being placed in my own apartment next week, and I'll have my own apartment and out of the shelter. But Skid Row is really interesting because I have met so many wonderful, wonderful people here, honestly. And then I have met some really, really bad people too. So there's a mix. It's like a melting pot of different people, different personalities. People come from all walks of life, from all over the country, from different parts of the world. They come to Skid Row because a lot of people, honestly, come to Skid Row because it's an easy haven for them to do their drugs. And I'm not judging because I used to do drugs. Long time ago, 20 years ago, I did drugs. So I'm not going to sit here and point the finger at anyone who does drugs today. I just stay away from them. If I know someone does drugs, no, I don't hate on them. I'm not going to put them down. I'm just like, later, bye.
Have you always been a nonconformist? I mean, like your whole persona is going to raise eyebrows everywhere you go.
Yes. I have always been a nonconformist.
Where does that come from?
I do card readings, and I do my own daily affirmation. I have a daily card affirmation that I read to just kind of see where things are for me in my life. And one of the messages that I got from my cards was that I needed to look to and embrace and really trust my inner gut instincts, my instincts, my inner self, my inner worth, So I think that's basically where it comes from. But the strength that I have to live in the world that would be so critical of me and so ugly to me, and people have been really ugly towards me. All of that, all of those experiences, all the people that have tried to hurt me, and those who have hurt me, I'm just over here saying, toodaloo, toodaloo, I'm still here, I'm still standing. You knocked me down, but you didn't keep me down. Nothing keeps me down. And I think that is where my strength comes from, Mark. It comes from within myself. Ever since I was like 4 years old, I was abused by my stepfather. And then the abuse continued with my grandfather all my life, all through my teen years, all through high school, until finally I graduated from high school and I said, I am so out of here because this isn't working for me. This environment, which is supposed to be my home, isn't working for me because my grandfather and I were always at odds and we were always fighting. And I told my grandfather one day, I said, you know what? I said, we're supposed to love one another. You're supposed to love me because I'm your son, and I'm supposed to love you because you're my father. I said, but we don't get along, and we haven't in a long time. And I don't know if things will ever change. So the only thing that I can do, that I can think of to rectify the situation is to move, to step away, to get out. I'm that kind of person, if I get an inkling, if someone gives me just the suggestion of you're not wanted here, I'm gone. You don't tell me twice I don't need to be there because I know that I don't need to be in that situation. So my strength comes from within. The test of my mettle, of what I'm made of, comes to me in different forms. Sometimes I'm tested on social media where people test my mettle and my resolve, my inner strength. They put me to the test and challenge me by putting me on the offense. But instead of going on the offense with people, most of the times I just choose to walk away, because in the real world of snakes, a lot of people think, oh my God, she's a snake. Snakes are scary, and rattlesnakes are scary. They're evil. They're bad. No, they're not. They're just a snake. They want to have their own property, which is their natural habitat. And then you come and you destroy their natural habitat, and then you wonder why you got snakes in your backyard. Well, guess what? That used to be the rattlesnake's backyard, and you stole their backyard away from them, and now you're complaining because they're there. So people are weird about snakes, and honestly, I've been around snakes all my life. I've handled so many different snakes. Not one time in my entire 62 years of life, yes, I'm 62, not one time has a reptile of any kind ever hurt me. Never. On the other hand, it's just a totally different picture when I paint the picture of humanity. Humans have hurt me so many times, needlessly, on purpose, taking advantage of my kindness because I'm a kind and gentle person, and mistaking my meekness for weakness. That's not the right thing to do. Don't mistake my meekness for weakness, because if you summon the bitch in me, guess what you're going to get? The bitch in me. She is one of my personalities, and her name is Tiamat. So you come after me, you come after Tiamat. Tiamat's going to get up, and she's going to scorch your eyebrows first, and then she's going to burn your ass.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned abuse as a child from your dad or stepdad?
My stepfather hated me because I was named after my father. Here again goes the story of my father's name, and why I say that being named after my father, instead of it being a wonderful thing, oh man, I was named after my dad, I was named after my father, I'm so proud. And I was proud to be named after my dad because I loved my dad. And I wish my mother had not left him, but she did. So her decisions affected me and my siblings because we no longer had a dad. So I grew up without a dad, but my stepfather had an opportunity to be a dad, to be a father figure for me. And all he did was abuse me and hurt me. He would abuse me emotionally, psychologically, and physically. I was barely in the first grade.
There was also abuse when you were like in your late teens, when you left home?
When I left home at the age of 18 rather, I know it sounds crazy, but this is what happened. I left home because I needed to get out of that situation that was so toxic with my grandfather. And I went to Houston to live with my mother and my stepfather, of all people. And not surprisingly, but it just didn't work out. I think I actually stayed with them probably a couple of months before I felt like I needed to just get away from that situation, because it was very toxic and very bad for me. And my stepfather, this is how he would talk. And I'm going to mock him to just talk the way he does. He used to tell me when I was just a little kid, I was just in the first grade first grade. He used to say, "Ricky, I hated for him to call me that. Ricky, he would say, we need to go hunting, you and me. I have a gun. I'm thinking, okay, I'm in the first grade and you have a gun, which is not a hunting gun, by the way, it's a pistol. You don't use a pistol to go hunt rabbits and javelinas. You use a pistol to shoot somebody. I knew that. Even as a kid, I knew that. So I felt from the very beginning, very early on, that he was up to no good when it came to me, and he was out to do away with me. He encouraged my mother to call aunts and uncles, family members, asking the family members to take one of the kids. So she had 4 kids from my father. So they needed a home for 4 kids that they didn't want, my mother and my stepfather. They were trying to home us, to foster us out. And the family all came back and said, well, we would love to take one, but we don't want to separate them. There were, because there were 3 of us that were left behind. Our little baby sister was too young, so they didn't leave her behind. My mother and my stepdad took her. So they already separated us from one of our siblings. And the other family members were like, no, well, we love y'all and we love them and we would love to take one of the kids, but we're not going to separate them, and we can't take 3 kids. So nobody had a home for us. Nobody was able to take us, and that is what caused my stepfather and my mother to come up with an idea, with a scheme to leave us with my grandparents by force, basically, which meant they were going to just abandon us. And they did.
Have you been in love before?
Yes, I've known love. I had a partner of 20 years. He was the love of my life. His name was Mark. So, yeah, I do know, I have known love. Mark was the first person that ever showed me what it was like to be loved, to be cared for, to be considered, to be thought of as good, and to be shown that I'm worthy of being loved. I never felt that my entire life from my family because of the toxic environment that I grew up in. So Mark was the first, when I met Mark, he was the first person that did show me, hey, there is another side to life. Let's turn the page and look at how beautiful it can be. And I saw the beauty in life, and I experienced the beauty in life through Mark. Mark was my angel. He was my soulmate. And the greatest part of my life, the most important part of my life for many years. And even now, after his death, he still holds a special place in my life. One of my dogs, who I named Alfred, I named after Mark. His middle name was Alfred. So when Mark died, I was all alone. I had no pets. I had nothing, no one. And I would spend my entire days alone in my apartment just crying. And I finally had a dream when Mark came to me in my dream. He grabbed me, he took me by the hand. We were in this dark room. It was all pitch black. I could only see like my hands, I couldn't see anything else. Everything was pitch black. So Mark took me by the hand, and then he went like this, showing me, he said, like, look at this. There was a mirror on the wall, and he took me to that mirror, and he went like this to me with his hand, like, look. So I looked, and I was dressed in a blue like it looked like a monk's cape or something like that, a monk's attire. It was just a blue outfit that I had, and it was like cobalt blue because that was my favorite color, and it was like as if the blue was illuminating the surrounding. You could see hints of blue because it was like shining. It was just, there was light radiating from the blue. And it was then that I thought, okay, Mark wants me to look into the future. That was his way of saying, look into the future. There's a future there for you. That's the message I got from Mark. So I immediately got in my car and I drove to the local SPCA in Houston, and I was going to be adopting a dog because I felt a dog would be the perfect companionship for me. So I was busy signing paperwork, filling out the paperwork to adopt this little dog that I thought was really cute and I was going to adopt, when this young couple walked into the building at the SPCA, and they walked into the adoption side. There's two different sides of the building. One is where you drop off your pet, and for adoption, you leave them there, and then the other side is where you actually go in to look for a pet to adopt. Well, I was on the adopting side of the building. So this couple approached me, and the girl was crying, and she looked so sad. And I asked her, I said, are you okay? She goes, do you like him? And so she looked down, and she had a little dog on the leash. It was a pup. And I said, oh, how cute. He's so cute. They said, can you please take him? And I'm like, I said, excuse me? Aren't you here to adopt this pet? They said, no. They said, we can't keep him, and I'm trying to find someone to take him because we don't want them to put him to sleep. She says, please take him. And she was crying and crying. And then I started crying because I could feel the reason why she was crying. And it really hurt her that she was scared that the dog could have been put under. And I looked at him and I said, come on, Alfred, let's go. As soon as I said that, he wagged his tail. He did his little hippity hop jump that he does, and to let me know he's happy. And from that point on, his name was Alfred. He just knew it. His name was Alfred. And the reason I had to name him Alfred is because even though Mark, before he died, even though he begged me, he said, honey, if I ever die, I want you to meet somebody who's going to be nice to you, who's going to take care of you and love you the way that you need to be loved. He says, I don't want you to be by yourself. I don't want you to be alone and lonely. He says, promise me that you'll meet someone. Promise me that you'll go out and find someone. So I had to promise him that I would, but I knew at that time that there was just no way. So I've been single for the last 14 years since he passed away. I tried dating somebody one time, and that went nowhere real fast.
It's got to be a special person with all your body modifications, right?
This person...
What kind of reactions do you get from people on the street?
I get the reactions that I get from people on the street about my body modifications are pretty much positive. There are a few people that automatically think and assume that I am the devil. Oh, look at they've got devil horns. And I tell them, no, they're not devil horns, they're dragon horns. The other D, the dragon, okay? Not the devil. Just so that everybody knows how I feel about the devil. The devil can suck my cock. I don't deal with this whole devil bullshit. I think the whole devil thing is an actual bullshit that I want nothing to do with, and don't want anyone to associate me with the devil, because I am not the devil. I am much bigger and much better than the devil. So yeah.
Do you ever regret all the modifications you've done?
You know, Mark, when I first started my transformation, I asked myself that very question. Like, what if I regret this in life, later on in life, and I'm going to get horns? When I got my new horns, that changed how everybody treated me. People were starting to treat me like I was someone to stay away from, because most people who looked at me initially during the early parts of my transformation, most people thought that I was the devil. And some people still think today that I'm the devil. And I've told people in interviews that I've done, I am not the freaking devil. Quit calling me the devil. That's like putting me down. You know, it doesn't make me feel good, like, oh, yippee, I'm being called the devil. No, because, you know, people aren't doing it in a nice way. They don't refer to me as the angel of light, because that's, if you want to get right down to it, that is who the devil is. He's the angel of light. Lucifer, that is his name. Lucifer, it means angel of light. So, in a way, my attitude about people calling me the devil could be this. Okay, I'm the devil. Aren't I beautiful? I'm the angel of light. Do you know what a big compliment you're giving me by calling me the devil? You are complimenting me. Now, I was God's chosen angel. Angel of light. Lucifer, created by your God. So think about what people need to think about, how they want to put me down, because I'm not an idiot. You know, I can run circles around some people who think that they know it all. No, they don't.
Legion, what would you say is the most important lesson you've learned in your life?
The most important lesson that I've learned in my life and this might seem weird, but you know that Bible verse that says, love your enemies? It's kind of along those lines. I understand how and why some people think that I'm the devil. When they see me, that is the first thing that comes to their mind. Because honestly, people are ignorant. And I can't be mad at people because of their ignorance. Ignorance is out there. And a lot of people only know that if someone puts horns on their head like myself, in their mind, because of how they were raised and what things they were taught by their family, I am the devil. But like I said, that's really not, although it's meant to put me down, it's not a put down for me. It's actually, you're putting me on a pedestal by calling me the devil, because you're essentially calling me Lucifer, the angel of light. So how much more beautiful can anyone want to be? He was the most beautiful angel that God made. So you want to call me the devil? Keep calling me the devil. I'll own it. Why not? I'll just throw it in with the name Legion, just another name that people know me by. Throughout Skid Row, when I walk through here, through the neighborhood, I hear people yelling at me, devil, devil, dragon, Medusa, dragon lady. I'm like, I'm no longer a lady. I don't want to be called a lady. I remember from the first interview that we did, Mark, you and I together, that some of the comments on YouTube in the interview, some people are just so damned ugly and nasty and hateful. The only thing that they could come up with to comment on about everything that I've shared in my story, the only thing that they are going to comment on is something like, "That's no lady, that's a man. That's no lady, that's a man." So guess what, y'all? You're right. I'm no lady. I am no one. Oh, you thought I was going to say I'm a man? No, I'm not a man. I'm not a woman. I don't want to be called a man or a woman. I hate the fact that humans have to categorize everybody in nice little categories, A through Z accordion folders. Like, no, I don't want to be a part of anyone's folder. That's why I call myself a genderless dragon, because I have no gender. In fact, when I changed my name legally and I went to DMV, I was so happy to let them know that my gender marker has now been changed to non-binary, which means I'm not a man or a woman. I'm non-binary. I don't approve of the gender binary, and in fact, I reject it. I reject the gender binary. I think I have a right to be genderless, and that's how I see myself. As far as sexual activity, boring. I am so bored. People with their sex, I just don't understand why humans are so sexually active. And everything it's almost like everything revolves around sex when it comes to humans. Well, us reptiles, we have different things to worry about. I don't worry about sex. I haven't been with anyone in over 10 years. And I'm quite happy being alone by myself, me, myself, and I, and not letting my body be tainted or be put down or used in any way by someone because they want to experience sex with the dragon lady. Well, too bad. That ain't happening because I don't even like sex. So even if I would say, oh man, I met someone really hot and really cute, and looks are skin deep, beauty is skin deep. In most cases, people's outer beauty doesn't match their inner heart, because they are beautiful outside, but they're wicked and they're evil inside, and they're not nice people. And those kind of people I don't like. No, don't deal with dirty people.
All right. Legion, thank you so much for sharing your story.
You're welcome.
You're fascinating, as always.
Thank you.
Great seeing you again.
Likewise.
Thank
my
you very
pleasure.
much.
It's been such a pleasure. Always a pleasure to talk to you, Mark.
Likewise.
And to be a part of your projects. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'm humble and honored that to be here, to talk to you, to share my story with you and your followers.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you.